So Zad, we were talking in globalization, Mr. Moriarty's class. We were talking about the in Syria and the Arab Springs,
Mm-hmm.
and well, first, what's going on in Syria, if you don't know, is that their political leader, al-Assad, is treating the citizens very poorly.
Al-Assad?
Yeah, and he is killing innocent protesters because they want him. They want him overthrown because in Egypt they overthrew their leader and Gaddafi was overthrown in Libya
Gaddafi.
and killed. And so they Syria's trying to do the same, but there's a bit of a problem, and they're getting killed by the al-Assad's military. And this was a while back though, like 2011, 12, and it's impacting a lot of nations in around the world. It's one of the most It's on the TV so much, and it's very hard to do anything about it. And how do you think? Do you think United States can do anything about it, or if you have any suggestions on what they could do?
I believe the United States cannot do anything about it.
Why do you believe that?
I believe that because they failed when it came across Egypt. They thought they can hold it down, hold sanctions and stuff like that, but ended up failing. And at the end, Egyptian people started. They didn't start, but they ended up taking over. They threw out. They threw out the leader. They put him in jail, and now Egypt is. Now it's ruled by people. I think that's what happened in Syria. In Syria, when you have Al-Assad, he's controlling this, and he's doing even far worse than whatever the Egyptian leader did. And it doesn't matter how many guns he uses. There's always gonna be more Syria people rising and causing a cause, and then they will take over Syria, and Al-Assad will be dead, like Gaddafi and Saddam and all those people.
Yeah, but also people are getting affected in other countries like Turkey. Syria doesn't like Turkey.
Well, Syria doesn't like anyone, regardless. They don't like anyone who stands up to them. To that right now.
Why do you believe that? Do you have any?
Because that's just the nature of Syria people. I know Syria people. I'm not talking about Syria people. I'm talking about the government. Yeah. Any government does not like people who disagree with them, and most people disagree with Syria. Like Muhammad did with whoever disagreed with Egypt. Gaddafi hated, people who rebelled him. Doesn't matter who you are. If you don't like someone who disagrees with you, you're not gonna like him. It's period. That's how Al-Assad is. That's how his government is. That's how it always will be until he's out.
Well, what do you think? He's been in power for a couple decades and a generation.
Like I said, the Syria people will kick him out.
Will kick him out? Do you think they will murder him like Gaddafi?
I think it would. It doesn't matter. All I know is that he's gonna be dead. I don't know. I'm not a psychic. I just know that he's gonna be dead.
Okay, so in our global issues class, we have something called PEGs, which are
political, economic, social, geography.
Yeah. So what do you think this falls under?
This is all political.
Yeah.
It's political power. He knows that his people are turning against him, and therefore he decides to rebel. When he rebels, that causes a rebellion, from the people to the government.
Yeah.
And in the end, you're just gonna lose. You look at the two leaders. You look at Indonesia. You look at Libya. They all fell. Doesn't matter what you do. You're gonna fall to the people. It's always been the people's power. It's never been the government. When is the last time you've seen government rule for more than 5,000 years? The longest people were the pharaohs. Then they died out because of the people. The British did not rule America because they lost the Revolutionary War. People always overpower the government. It doesn't matter how strong you are, how well equipped you are. People will win.
So do you think democracy is a good...
Democracy... It depends how you classify democracy. Do you classify American democracy, which is very hypocritical, or do you classify the real democracy? I believe...
Because real democracy these days is very hard to achieve.
It's not very hard to achieve. It's very hard to withhold. There's a difference. Anyone can achieve democracy. It depends on, then you have people who just want power or just greedy. That's what happens. If you look at Nixon, if you look at the George Bush Senior and George Bush, they just wanted oil in the Muslim lands. And if you're saying this is a biased statement, it's not biased. Look at all your charts. There has not even been a nuclear weapon in Iraq, but there's a lot of oil, and all the oil money spending on the United States.
Yeah, and since we have background experience in Saudi Arabia, going to Mecca, we find it very peaceful there.
It's very peaceful.
And
if someone thinks that Mecca isn't peaceful, then, well, you can't go there because you're not Mecca.
But, what we feel is that if we feel like we're attacked, we are going to defend ourselves. But the United States might have a different perspective because we're not even allowed in there.
Exactly, because the Prophet sealed Mecca and Medina from the non-Muslims. Simple as that. If you have satellites, you can look over the satellites if you want.
Yeah. So, how does the United States have they done anything? Do you know?
Done anything about what?
About the conflict in Syria. Like how they.
I think that the UN, which the United States is part of,
yeah.
They have hold sanctions. Discuss about it, but this is the United States' hand. The United States should not be playing World Cup. They shouldn't be discussing. They shouldn't be getting involved in everybody's lives. I think this is something for the Arabs to handle, and that's the way it should be.
Do you think it'll get out of control? Do you think?
No, it will not get out of control. It will not get out of control. I think what will spread around is this Arab Spring going around where these dictators are going to be overthrown because no one wants a dictator. The United States always claims they don't want a dictator, but then again they support the dictators at the same time because the dictators give them money.
With our hard economy, do you think we shouldn't bother any countries?
No, with our economy, no. We shouldn't be discussing about it. We should be focusing on ourselves. So we said before we play World Cup. We shouldn't be playing World Cup in general. We should mind our own business.
Okay, but the national interest of the United States and members of the UN, what do you think they're regarding in the crisis of Syria? What do you think their interest is, the United States?
I think they just want oil. They want the wealth because that's the only thing they're concerned about because they know their economy is about to crash and they need something. Economic crisis.
So, do you think the UN will do anything in the future?
I think they will just because the people will scream. I don't think UN should do anything about it until people need the UN. And that's it.
What else do you think about the Arabs from Egypt and Libya? Do you think they have a huge impact on Syria or they might?
I think they've inspired the people in Syria to rebel.
Do you think this might spread around the Middle East?
Yes.
All the dictators?
Mm-hmm.
And you think the United States shouldn't touch them at all?
No, it's not their business.
But what if it gets out of hand? Let's say, it gets maybe very military power. They start using gunfire and lots of shooting against innocent people.
Libya had gunfire and shootings. Now they're safe. They're fighting. Okay. I'm not promoting violence. I'm just saying that if the enemy fires, you fire back.
So do you think to make a great change, sacrifices will be made?
Sacrifices must be made in order to make a change. Doesn't matter what. And people think sacrifice is lives. You can just be, your devotion from dictatorship to democracy. It can be anything. People just associate with life because they think that all Arabs are crazy and they always want to kill, but they're not.
But they don't have background experience.
Exactly. Shabas.
And just one final question. Mm-hmm. Do you think or do you not think that the Middle East is a dangerous country?
No, it is not dangerous.
And you think that if we leave them alone?
I think if the United States leaves a lot of people alone, I think I think that if the United States let people alone, then American people won't have to worry.
What about oil?
Oil, I'm pretty sure there's a lot in the Pacific Ocean and Atlantic Ocean. Why don't you start with that? You use your own instead of taking ours.
Okay. So on that note, we'll finish. And thank you for participating in my discussion.